Welcome to the Tech Talks Daily Podcast, where you can learn and be inspired by real-world examples of how technology is transforming businesses and reshaping industries in a language everyone can understand. Here is your host, Neil C. Hughes.
Welcome back to the Tech Talks Daily Podcast. Now, a quick message for you all. I am planning on releasing a Christmas message on Christmas Day morning. For those of you that don't know, here in the UK, every Christmas Day, the Queen will address the nation and everyone will sit around the TV watching the Queen's speech. Well, I thought, let's have a tech twist on that. Let's have the Tech Blog Writer's Christmas speech. So keep your questions coming over for that special episode. I'll say no more, so please email me techblogwriter@outlook.com with any questions. Now, we are seeing live streaming growing exponentially, much like we did see e-commerce doing the same several years ago. And at first, it was a cool thing and a nice to have. But we're now seeing it being built into all kinds of things, such as baby monitors, doorbells. The growth of live streaming is indeed massive. And we're beginning to see it take off as the new normal and the new standard expectation of what customers expect. If I can chat with a postman through my doorbell, obviously customers are going to expect a similar experience everywhere. So retailers must adapt and quickly to connect with their consumers. So after reading a case study outlining how a global retailer, Jewelry.tv, adapted their sales strategy to connect with their changing consumer demographic and learn how that change resulted in significant success for the retailer, I felt compelled to find out more. So just as online shopping transformed retail 20 years ago, could live streaming play an integral role in transforming e-commerce today? Dubbed live e-commerce, the convergence of video and shopping is starting to help close the gap between the customer and the product and also improve engagement and drive sales. So Dave Stubenvol is a streaming industry veteran and he launched Wowza Media Systems with Charles Good, and together they set out to fill a stark void in the industry, which was the lack of flexible, robust media server software, which is of course required to build reliable streaming. Wowza is Dave's fifth new business venture, having previously served as entrepreneur in residence at Adobe Systems and was also the CEO and co-founder of Freeworks. But you've heard more than enough from me and had enough scene setting, so let's head to Colorado together so we can speak with Dave now. So a massive warm welcome to the show, David. Can you tell the listeners a little about who you are and what you do?
Sure. I'm Dave Stubenvol. I am CEO and one of the co-founders of Wowza Media Systems. Wowza is a software company focused on IP video and audio. Our core products power over 35,000 customers in their needs to communicate with audiences, and sometimes one way, sometimes bidirectionally, and through video and audio.
It's an incredibly exciting space at the moment. So I've got to ask for anyone that is relatively new to what we're going to be talking about today. Can I ask that you set the scene today and tell the listeners a little more about why retailers must adapt and quickly if they're to connect with consumers?
Sure. So retailers, like every other kind of merchant, anyone that wants to connect with their audience, the job to be done here is to have a communication, right? Communication is used to inform, to influence, to educate, and sometimes to, kind of push people in a certain direction. And retail in particular has undergone a massive change in these last 10 years. The advent of Amazon, the decline of storefront retail means that retailers need to connect with consumers in new ways, and they have to do it on consumers' terms, not just on their terms. And that experience in the retail shop has just been lost through e-commerce. And folks are looking for ways to get a better, more fulsome experience to the consumers. And video, especially live video, is a great way to do that.
It really is. And when you're talking about they're connecting with consumers in new ways, I'm sure it's going to set off a few light bulb moments in the head of anybody who works with retailers that are listening today. But I'm curious, how are you seeing live streaming growing exponentially, much like e-commerce several years ago? And also, how are some of it actually using this as a way to differentiate themselves against their competitors?
So live streaming and video streaming for consumer retail certainly is growing, but we're still at the early phase of the technology adoption curve. We're still in the early adopter phase. So there's a long way to go. And I think we're going to rapidly move into that early majority phase. And so we've got a number of customers in this space, from social shopping like Dote to kind of next gen shopping with jewelry TV, and taking that next step to try to adapt to the demographic shifts, adapt to the lifestyle changes of folks by engaging with live video.
And I'm glad you mentioned jewelry TV there, because I recently read a case study outlining how jewelry TV adapted their sales strategy to actually connect with their changing consumer demographic, and how that change had resulted in significant success for the retailer. And I must be honest, that's one of the reasons I invited you on the podcast today. So for anyone that hasn't seen that study, can you share some of the results from that and maybe go into just why it's so exciting?
Sure. Jewelry TV is actually a fascinating case study, because they're next gen retail a while ago when they were on TV, and that kind of infomercial connection. And now, by taking advantage of live streaming, you get both tremendous aspects. You get the ability to literally broadcast your message like TV to a wide audience at once. And through the magic of the internet and an IP connection, you can have an individualized experience. Each and every viewer that you have, where in the broadcast area, you're just throwing it out there and you're hoping for a Nielsen rating or some other way to get the information back on the individuals. And in the end, individuals matter, right? We sell to markets, we sell to demographics. In the end, individuals are buying products each and every day. And that's the incredible bridge that we're able to cross with live video over the internet.
And what I find really interesting about this is if we look at online shopping, I mean, that transformed retail 20 years ago, but it seems that it's now live streaming that's playing that integral role in transforming e-commerce right now. I mean, is that what you're seeing?
We're definitely seeing it. And I laugh when you say that. Way back when, early days of Wowza even, we added Apple HLS streaming. Right? It didn't have a name at the time. We called it Cupertino streaming. And my co-founder and I, Charlie, were sitting there talking, and he goes, I think we're done. I don't think there's anything else we could ever add to Wowza. And we're like, that's kind of funny. And an hour later, he called me again. He goes, that's just stupid, right? There's always going to be so much more. And the same is in retail, right? You've had bazaars that have been around for thousands of years, and then traditional retail, and then the rise of Walmart and big box stores, and then onto infomercials, and then e-commerce, and adding live video, adding these new capabilities, adding every opportunity to communicate and interact with your constituents, whether it's a consumer or a business or anything else, changes the game entirely. And just as telephone changed the game, right? It's a new communication method. The internet, through web pages, and then distributing video, and then interactivity added to video, just really pushes things. If you look at the video communications map, or the overall communications map, communications could be symmetric, right? You and I talking. They could be you and I talking the same way, right? Or voice to voice. It could be asymmetric, where you've got broadcast out, right? Traditional jewelry TV, broadcast out, and then hopefully someone calls up to buy something. and asynchronous versus synchronous, right? Sending out that message, and old days of Sears catalog, people writing in to buy, or synchronous. Now you can do these things right now. And live video allows is that asymmetric component, which allows you to deal with massive numbers of folks at the same time and make it synchronous, right? Do things right now. One of the key influencers in Robert Cialdini's book Influence, one of my favorites, are one, likability, being on video, being able to provide some reaction, knowing your audience is a great boon to likability, and as well as scarcity, right? If we're no longer going to show this product, or if this product is going away, or an auction ends, or however that goes, that spurs reactions from your audience and compels them to do something. And that's what live video allows us to do in this new next generation retail. It brings all these components of influence to a sharper focus and allows retailers to have greater communication and influence with their audience, and it allows the audience to have a much more enhanced experience.
And another thing that really shined out from that case study is it's like almost like by letting customers select where and how they engage, whether it be in their living room, television, or on a mobile app while riding the subway, much like the Netflix experience. JTV have been able to broaden their reach to attract that younger population, that younger demographic. I mean, do you think that's something that retailers of all sizes and all industries can actually learn from?
Absolutely. Netflix actually says it best, is that their main competition isn't another station or another way of watching media and entertainment video. It's sleep.
Yeah.
And certainly forever, right? The problem with retail is time and attention. To go to a store, to go to a mall, or to watch something at a particular time, it's hard to line up your schedule with mobile devices. I can take 5 minutes and buy something. Even yesterday, Saturday, we're on our way to the ski slope and had to stop off at a snowboard shop. And my wife and my son went into the shop. My wife and I are talking about a Christmas present for him. And we're like, bam, I ordered it right then and there, and it showed up yesterday, right? How awesome is that? Yeah. To engage with folks and buy for their time when someone would otherwise not be able to shop and is now able to shop is tremendous. And to do that, again, with live video and all the richness of the interaction and comments going back and forth and being able to see the reaction of the host because of my comment, it is just so incredibly engaging. And that's the key, is how do we engage people to get our message across?
And I would imagine for most people, they're used to that Netflix experience, bouncing from device to device wherever they are. And during the holiday season, they're probably buying gifts using something like Amazon Prime, and they've had an idea in the car and a conversation like you did, had it delivered the following day. And they completely get everything that we're talking about and know what they need to do, but just struggling to do it. So what advice or guidance would you offer to other retailers that could be listening, looking to invest in this kind of technology to drive sales? Is there any guidance you could offer or any mistakes to avoid?
Well, first and foremost, you've got to really decide to push hard on this opportunity. And I would love to say, yes, decide to make a big investment and then call us. But in reality, you have to be much more agile. What works with your business, what works with your personalities, right? The actual people on camera can vary widely. And that's the human aspect simply cannot be overlooked. That is going to be a significant part of your success or failure. And you need to try things and be mindful of your audience and keep pushing that envelope. So try things and then do what we call make the AAA decision: accelerate, adjust, or abandon, and keep going on from there. The other part, self-serving, is that video is hard. Doing video at scale is very difficult. Live video is absolutely unforgiving. Your video fails, your event fails. It's not that you lost one viewer, you lost the whole investment. And so in that case, you do want to work with professionals. You want to work with folks that understand the importance of video streaming, how to scale it, how to push that reliability. And that's why JTV uses Wowza Streaming Cloud. We have that part covered. You don't have to be an expert in video to make this work. And so those really are the two things, three things. Invest in your people. Personalities matter greatly. Experiment continuously. Be mindful of what you're doing. And the great thing about internet video is you get real-time data back. And lastly is invest in experts that understand the best practices, that understand what equipment you need in studio and how to set up your application the right way. And, while yes, it's true, 60 frames a second is awesome video, you don't want to do it that way, right? There's many other ways in which you can provide a very high quality video stream without pushing the technological envelope.
And Wowza also recently developed a low latency report in 2019 outlining how people are streaming and also where the technology is at the moment. And if anybody that hasn't seen that report, can you expand on some of the big findings in there?
Sure. So latency is definitely a hot button topic without a doubt. And there are absolutely times where high or moderate latency are completely appropriate. And the truth is, by adding latency, you can usually increase the quality, right? Gives you more time for things to go awry, if things go awry on the internet. As we bring latency down, the criticality of the stream increases dramatically. The ability to manage it gets a bit harder. And when you are in the broadcast area, and remember 20 years ago, no one really knew that there was a significant delay on the Super Bowl, just because that's the way it worked and we got it as near as we can. And today, especially for something like retail, where you need a certain amount of back and forth, you really do need to dramatically decrease that latency. When we used to do our all hands meetings, and we start out with 15 to 30 seconds of latency, I would ask folks, do you have any more questions? And folks would respond via chat. And I realized I had to wait like 20, 30 seconds before the first responses could even begin to come in. And for a host, the person on the video, that makes for some awkward times. Being able to get that latency down dramatically, and for something like live retail, social shopping, you can handle a couple of seconds of latency, pretty darn easily. You cross that threshold where the interaction becomes dramatically more natural. And for retail, a natural interaction with your audience is vitally important. So reducing that latency to the point where you can have that interactivity is quite key. And very recently, Apple came out with their new spec for low latency over HLS. And that's certainly going to help change the game with respect to the availability of low latency streams. It's going to be built into every device. Any kind of new technology, low latency or anything else, is always a chicken and the egg issue, right? Do we have players that can play it? Do we have servers that can serve it? And by having Apple include the support in all their iOS devices and Apple TV, it allows us to get off the ground with a good quality, high scale streaming system, reasonably low latency streaming system, right out of the box. And we will see significant adoption of that throughout the industry.
And what excites you about the next 18 months with Wowza? We are entering a new year and a new decade. So is there anything else you can share with us about your focus next year, or maybe leave us with a bit of a teaser?
Absolutely. So I don't have to tease that much. Wowza, for the last 18 months, Wowza has been on this journey. We've been around almost 13 years now in 2020. And we've always been kind of this high volume self-service components vendor. Folks would come to Wowza and grab our stuff, try it, and begin to implement. And what we've seen is that as the need for video has exploded, and we continue to serve the video professionals, right? Content delivery networks, OVPs and EVPs and broadcasters. Those people know video, and that's a great thing. We're seeing it push so strongly into non-video centric industries that can really take advantage of the power of video. Retail is one, auctions, public safety, finance, healthcare, government, sports. And so as a result, Wowza is in the midst of this change from being a self-service components vendor to a full-service solutions platform. And one of the most important things that we've added in 2019 is a professional services organization. And previously, we would send folks to third parties when they needed help incorporating Wowza into their product or service. We've taken that on ourselves, and it's been a tremendous benefit for our interaction with customers and our ability to much more directly affect customer success. And I do say, while we do have this professional services organization, we're not a body shop, right? This is all about customer success. It's not about pro serve. It's how do we make our customers much more successful on the Wowza platform and get them to get their jobs best. Fundamental mission of Wowza is to be a force multiplier for our customers. And this new capability has really affected that tremendously. So we'll be expanding that in 2020 and beyond, bringing out new products and services in this platform play and helping our customers be just wildly successful.
Fantastic. And for anyone that's new to this game and want to find out more information, see the kind of work that you're doing here, and also keep up to speed with your developments, what's the best way of contacting your team if they've got any questions or finding you online? Can you just point them in the right direction?
Certainly. www.wowza.com is the center of the universe for all things Wowza. And we've got folks that are always willing to talk to you on email at sales@wowza.com.
Excellent. Well, I'll add those links to the podcast show notes over on the blog post that will accompany this episode over on my site, techblogwriter.co.uk. But I love what you're doing here, using streaming or video streaming to actually connect with audiences in new ways. And also how you've simplified some very complex technology and ensuring just works for your clients. It's incredibly inspiring. So I'm going to stay in touch with you, hopefully get you on next year and see where this goes. And more than anything, just a big thank you for coming on and sharing that story with me today. Thanks again, Dave.
Thank you, Neil. It's a lot of fun.
What a great interview there. And I'm also fascinated by how demographic shifts have spurred this digital transformation by actually just enabling customers to select when and where and how they engage, whether it be on their living room television, a mobile app, or riding home on the subway. But putting video streaming into products or apps on the back end as a way to differentiate themselves against competitors just feels like a mouth-watering prospect. Because live video automatically adds authenticity, and consumers are coming to expect things like connectivity and live streaming to be available in nearly everything they do. If their baby monitor and doorbell have it, why isn't it not available in other areas too? So using tech to connect with people in new ways is exciting as hell to me. But over to you. Please keep your questions coming over for the Christmas Day episode and let me know your thoughts and your opinions on today's episode. Whatever you need, remember you can always get me on my website, techblogwriter.co.uk. My email address is techblogwriter@outlook.com, and on Twitter, I'm Neil C. Hughes. But that's it for today. I'm winding down for the holiday season now, so a big thank you for listening. And And until next time, don't be a stranger.
Thank you for listening to the Tech Talks Daily Podcast with Neil C. Hughes. Remember, technology works best when it brings people together.